Welcome to Stop Overthinking, the podcast for overthinkers, people pleasers, and perfectionists who want to feel calm and confident enough to handle whatever life sends your way. I'm your host, Kristen, a women's life and mindset coach, lifelong educator, and recovering perfectionist. Welcome back to this solo episode of the Stop Overthinking podcast. I'm so glad you are joining in this week. This is September and we have a new season upon us. School is in session pretty much everywhere, and pumpkin spice and sweaters and all of the wonderful cozy things that are associated with fall are starting to appear everywhere. The other thing I see a lot of online is posts or memes about what we can learn from the season of autumn and let go and how beautiful it is to let go, like the falling leaves, etc. And it's a great cliche quote, but it got me thinking this week about what it really means when we have to let go. And how do you figure out if you need to let go of something or what to let go of? Going into this autumn theme, right? Autumn does remind us of the importance of letting go. And it shows us that there's this cycle of life. And sometimes we let go and release things that no longer serve us because we know as humans, we really hold on tightly to a lot of things that might be relationships, it might be thoughts or feelings or beliefs. So we hold on tight. And so we have this season of transition and release and surrender to maybe have some space in our life or space to bring some new things in. But if we're clinging to the past, we're holding on to those old wounds, we get fixated and locked down with certain habits or mindsets, there isn't room for that. So all of these things ultimately cause us more suffering. We know that sometimes life is happier and easier when we can flow and surrender and let go. Again, if we go beyond just the cliche, I invite you to consider a few questions to really think about what it means to let go. So you could think about, for example, what no longer serves you. What is in your life that maybe made perfect sense in the past that doesn't right now? Again, it could be job duties, it could be a person, it could be a relationship, it could be a habit. What can you stop carrying? Maybe those are expectations. Maybe it's the weight of other people's opinions. Maybe it's a wound from the past that you are still carrying. What is it time to let go of? You might even recognize there are things that no longer serve you or that things that have gotten really heavy in your life, and is now the time to let go of it. And there might just be burdens that you have taken on, maybe from other people, maybe from within your own life. Are there any of those that you can release? So those are some things that can help you really think about what does it mean to let go, or what kinds of things can I let go of? But as you are considering those things, really be expansive, whether that's people or situations, because it doesn't mean that something is bad in your life. It doesn't even mean that you're not enjoying it. Again, it might be that you need to let go of something in order to bring in another thing that just resonates more with you now at this point in your life. Because if you want more of something else, you might need to release what is already there in order to build that in. As I always advocate, it's really helpful to know your priorities and your values and to really hone in on those and guide you in this process. When you are living intentionally instead of on autopilot, it means being aware of what really matters to you. I want you to live life and make decisions and take actions from those values and priorities that are at the forefront so that you can create a life that's valuable to you, a life that you enjoy, and a life that you want. Another thing to consider is that those values and priorities also have a feeling associated with them. If your family is really important to you, it might be because you feel connection, you might feel belonging, you might feel love. And so there are often feelings with these things. And when you know those feelings, that can also be really helpful to know that those feelings are important to you and can also guide you in this process to determine if something isn't serving you anymore, if it's time to let go of it, etc. An example of this, my overall health and wellness are one of my values. I've talked about that. And it includes everything from food and sleep and movement and my emotional health. And yet, almost daily, I can feel like I can or even should be doing more. In my Pilates class this morning, I had the thought that "Ugh, I really should be doing more stretching." And then as I was driving home, I saw somebody jogging, and it's like, I wish I could really get back into running. So, two totally healthy activities completely fit in with my values, but for whatever reason have not incorporated them, maybe because that's not where my body is at or I don't have time. So at this point, it's like, what am I willing to give up? Because could I cram it in? Maybe, but more is not always better. Maybe I need more rest instead of adding more activity. So it's an opportunity to just re-examine some things. Maybe you don't need to let go of anything. Maybe you're ready to add. But if you don't consciously think about it, you're never really going to know. So again, back with my health and wellness, I love apple cinnamon donuts, and that's more my jam than pumpkin spice. And I see that sort of stuff all around, right? But that doesn't necessarily fit in with my values. So, can I let go of feeling like bad or sad because I don't get to enjoy that as much as I'd like? But then I can also hone in on, yes, but that's some immediate gratification, and my long term health is more a value. So those day-to-day decisions can be impacted when you're really clear on those values. Another thing with autumn is that it can just remind us about change that is inevitable. And I've talked about this before as well, that change and uncertainty can often be one of the most common topics I talk about in coaching. And change happens all the time. And you'd think that we get the hang of dealing with change, but it seems that there's anxiety, fear, uncertainty, and we go to often extraordinary lengths to avoid this. And with our seasonal autumn theme, again, it can show us that there's this transition and change, and that is a part of life, and to embrace it rather than to avoid it. Autumn really shows us how to embrace change in glorious splendor and spectacular colors. It reminds us to accept and flow with change. And just like those falling leaves that you maybe have to let go of in order to move forward, periods of transition and change can often be met again with that resistance and maybe even pain. But we know that our mindset is everything. And so, again, if you can surrender and kind of let go of that idea that change has to be difficult or bad, and you trust the process, believe that the universe is working with you, then you can see some of this change and transition and accept it in a more comfortable way. So you can sit with this knowledge that when the time is right, you will also spring back to life and bloom again, right? With all of these seasonal analogies. So change, right? Because we have leaves changing colors, we have them falling, kind of going dormant, and that is something else that you may want to consider. What changes are taking place in your life right now? Are those changes that you want? Are you embracing them or are you resisting it? Or are there things that you do want to bring more of into your life? And so these two go together with the letting go and embracing change. Two things that we're just not very good at, but are so natural and part of the cycle of life and part of the cycle of being human. I just wanted to kind of put this out there to be more accepting of this natural process. The other thing that autumn made me think of is that it is such a beautiful time of year, and yet we are so busy and distracted and on the hamster wheel, on autopilot, whatever. And you can use all of the colors of this season to remind us to live more mindfully. to slow down and have a more mindful pace to your life. Notice the details every single day, that what is around you is going to be changing and looking different. And so again, it is embracing that change, but noticing the change, really noticing it. So what does it look like to notice the color, to the falling leaves, to what the sky looks like? If you follow me on social media, you know that I often post a picture of the sunset as I'm out walking my dog. So those are just little things that bring me joy. But what I have definitely noticed is, of course, the days are getting shorter and I have to walk earlier, and that is a change to my schedule. But I'm still making an effort to do that because I love just watching the sky change and the colors of the sunset. Taking time to just pause and slow down and pay attention to those details, because there's so much to look at during this season. There is every season, but notice the details, notice the colors, use your senses to experience autumn in a whole new way. So I hope this gave you some things to think about. So the next time that you see a post or a meme or some other cliche about letting go during this season, that you can go a little bit deeper and think about what it could actually mean for you to get closer to the life that you really want. Have a great week. I'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you for listening to the Stop Overthinking podcast with Kristen Odegaard. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who would benefit from the message. To learn more about working with me and links to social media and free resources, head over to my website, coachwithkristen.com. That's Kristen spelled Kristen. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. Have a great week.